Or recorded. Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good day, or good evening, whenever you are watching this conversation. Again, my name is Joshua Sodivillo, and I'm from the Senior High School Department of Silliman University and also the project leader for Project STEAMify. This conversation, actually, or this chikahan, is purposive, is actually for my education students, no? For the College of Ed students who are in their third year right now. And I'd like to share to them a conversation with my previous mentor also, and still my mentor as of the moment, to share ideas, experiences, and thoughts about mentorship. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you our kachikahan at this time. Our kachikahan is actually a Sillimanen as well, a graduate of Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in Physics, graduated magna cum laude, year 2007. And in the same year, she was employed by Silliman University at the junior high school and started teaching, right after graduation. Wow. And then in 2016, she started to um, take her master's degree in science education, major in physics at the University of San Carlos, and graduated in the year 2018 under the scholarship program of the Commission on Higher Education in its K to 12 Transition Scholarship Program. At the moment, she is the Science Department Coordinator at Silliman University Junior High School. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mrs. Jessa V. Logronio. Hello, Ma'am
Hi.
Jess.
Yes,
Maayong
good
hadlaw.
evening, good morning, maayong adlaw, good afternoon, everyone, everybody watching and listening. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Ma'am Jess, first is I'd like to thank you for this actually short notice invitation from our end, but you are so ready to accept our invitation and of
Mhm.
course share ideas and statements and conversations, experiences to all our listeners and to our viewers, of course to our dear education students who are watching this, of course, right now. So since our topic this time is actually more on mentorship of science teachers, I'd like to ask first your first experience about your own experience about being mentored by somebody. Um, how does it feel? Like, were you intimidated? Were you scared? Or you were that excited already?
I guess a mixture of all of the emotions you have mentioned. Um, Probably scared also, excited, and somewhat at some point maybe intimidated as well, because I was first mentored by my mentor back then in the student teaching, by a teacher whom I don't any have any idea, I don't know personally, so maybe that's why.
So, Ma'am Jess, can you take us to your first day that you met your mentor? How did it go?
We used to, I mean, as practice in the College of Education, there is this meeting, everybody, meeting of all student teachers and all student mentors, and then you'll be introduced to each other. But just the very specifics of those moments, I could not remember exactly at this moment. And then, of course, probably the first day that I went to the classroom to observe. That was our like very up close, first up close encounter with my student teaching mentor back then. Mm, well, scared. I was scared, and I don't know what would happen. So probably just for for somebody who is not so exposed to that kinds of um, interaction. So I was somewhat scared, really.
Yeah, I think I share the same experience with you, Ma'am Jess. But how fast did you get comfortable, and how fast or how quick did you get along with your mentor? Or was it really something that you really have to, do so much effort, or it just came seamless and things just work, or nature just took its
In my
course, as they say?
case, well, that experience, I can't say that it came seamless or something like that. Well, I just had to do what I was asked for, to submit requirements, lesson plan, and other things, and of course to be on time. And I had to really show my best self to my mentor so that I would be able to gain her trust also.
Yeah. I hope you can still recall, Ma'am Jess, but I would like to try in asking the first time you receive like some sort of course we have feedbacks. No? So a
Yes.
feedback can either be positive or it can either be negative. No? Um, how did it feel when you received your the first feedback from your mentor? Like for example, probably your science mentor or science mentor then was like calling your attention to do this or to correct this. What was that experience?
By the way, before I answer that, I also would like to acknowledge that there were College of Education professors who I considered to be my mentors as well. But the very specific experience that we're talking about right now was my student
Yeah.
teaching experience and my interaction with my mentor for that student teaching experience. So the question was regarding the feedback. How did I receive that? So of course, as somebody who is new to really the lesson planning, because it's quite different when you just do preparations in the College of Education classrooms, and when you come to the real, somewhat real, yeah, real um, scenario wherein you would prepare a lesson plan for high school students who were almost your age, because physics was in the fourth year before, and they were like 16 and I was 19 or 18 at that time. So um for the content, for instance, of physics, because the content really was different before. It's highly very mathematical for
Mm-mm.
high school physics before, compared to the K to 12 physics now.
Yeah.
So I had several comments and feedbacks in my lesson plan at first, of course, starting with a lesson plan, and then later on with the implementation. And so much more with my classroom, classroom management, with the
Mm.
fact that my age was very close to my
Yeah.
students. And so um, instilling, or somewhat, um, what they call this, you put the you set the authority or something, like, it was somewhat
Yeah.
difficult for me. And so it was also made it more difficult to really teach a difficult subject for students, high school students at that time. And so those were some feedbacks that I could remember. And of course, I just had to take that positively because it's part of the process. But of
Yeah.
course, along the way, there's some hurt, of course, because
Mm-mm.
we don't always want to have negative comments, right?
Yeah.
Or feedback. But of course, there are some positive comments, but always, especially at a very young age, um, given some feedback about your being a mentee, it's not that easy to accept everything. So, but you have to, because it's part of the process. And
Yes.
so I just had to go through that.
Right after, because you mentioned that you received both, no, positive and
Yes.
negative, and then right after going through this mentorship, receiving those feedbacks, were you able to see your growth because of the mentorship that you received?
Of course, of course. Being a very naive, somewhat naive and very simple student teacher to, a more mature and student teacher who is able to come up with ways to address concerns in the classroom management,
Mm-hmm.
delivering the lessons, and making sure that students learn. So you try to come up with ways in how to do that in the best capacity that you have at that time.
Right after seeing the growth that you observed, Ma'am Jess, how did it feel? What was the feeling that you had inside? That you already see the changes in you. Probably that was also noticed by your mentor, because definitely no, there's that certain feeling when your mentor notices. Oh, I think you're getting better. Ganon, diba? So, in your case, in your experience, what was the feeling?
Of course, the feeling was really great, and especially coming to the day closer and closer to your final demonstration. That was, being a student teacher, really a very big day. And um, I think the process of growing would really be given much value when you reach that final demo and you're able to make it. So I'm very glad with the growth and the changes and the things that I've learned along the way.
Yeah, speaking of the FSTD, or the final student teaching demonstration, no? Of course, that is like one of our parang major, yes, I think that should be the major day, or like the grand or the
Yes.
big day for education students. Um, how much did your mentor help you, in a sense that um, you felt confident that okay, I'm gonna pull this demonstration off, like I'm gonna break a leg and make sure that the criteria there and the rubrics are really met. For you, how big was the help of mentorship in your preparation for the final demo?
Well, it is very big, yeah, because I wouldn't have done that without the mentorship process along the way with my mentor. No matter um, how many comments, how many feedback she gave me with my daily teachings, my lesson plans. I mean, all of those comments paid off with the final demo that was done, and I think that was a lot of help, the entire process, because for a teacher who is handling so many sections and then mentoring a student teacher or student teachers, checking and making
Yeah,
sure that the student teacher delivers it and learns along the way, that's another heavy task given to the teacher who is a mentor at the same time. So I really think that it was a lot of help.
yeah. If you were to advise the current pre-service teachers that we have right now, Ma'am Jess, at the College of Education, what three pieces of advice would you like to give them as they become a
Hmm.
mentee later on?
Wow. First of all, congratulations. You're almost there, You're almost the day that you would become a mentor is going to happen soon. And so I'd like to share with you three pieces of advice. Well, first is make sure that you're optimistic enough and have a positive outlook in the first place,
Yeah, very
and
important.
whatever will come along the way, um, will everything be going to be smooth, or there will be challenges, difficulties, and even factors outside of the mentee mentor relationship that would affect the relationship. Just be open minded that things happen for a reason. And In relation to that, of course, even if we believe that there are reasons why things happen, and sometimes we cannot fathom why, we cannot
Mm,
understand why. Um, just do what you're supposed to do. Be responsible enough to
right.
do what is asked of you and what are required of you, and cooperate with your mentor, right? That is very important. And then, of course, make sure that you you also are ready to learn and open to what are going to be given to you and what comments will be given by your student teaching mentor in the process. So um, be positive, optimistic,
Optimistic.
and then be ready for what's going to be given to you, and be
Mhm.
responsible in receiving and also in delivering whatever that you are supposed to do as a student teacher in the future.
Wow.
Yeah, those
Very,
are the.
yeah. I think those three are like so on point, no? Especially when they really are already in the classroom. Moving forward, Ma'am Jess,
Mhm.
years later,
Yes.
years later, you have become, no, from a mentee, you have also now, it's now your turn of becoming a mentor. And of course, I can still remember our interactions and our
Yeah,
mga
was it you? It was.
our conferences. Can you still
Yeah.
remember, or was I your first mentee?
I'm trying to recall if you were my first mentee, but I think you were. Oh, there were student teachers. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Um, were you batchmates with? But I think ahead of you there were student teachers who were with me.
Okay. Yeah. Moving forward, Jess, you're now a mentor, and like for example, just the principal's office knowing you, telling you or instructing you that okay, or Miss Villalon, maybe you were still Miss Villalon back then, or Ma'am Jessa. How did it feel what was the things that were going in your mind when you knew that okay, I'm going to be a mentor this time, not already a mentee. I'll have mentees under me. Were you
Well,
pressured? Were you excited?
I
Or
was excited.
okay,
Yeah, excited. Maybe a little pressure was on me, but the kind of pressure that was good, because I was excited to be a mentor and to be able to help student teachers become or be prepared for the future career in teaching.
just how much of your experience in your previous mentor before influence your style of mentorship? Because other teachers would say that your style of teaching would primarily depend on your previous teachers also. So do you also believe that your style of mentorship also was kind of significantly influenced by the kind of mentorship that you received during your student teaching days?
Mm, I wouldn't say that it was a heavy influence on my mentorship, because back then it was the old curriculum,
Mm,
and
okay.
the what they call this, the pedagogy was also somewhat more student centered, and so the
Mm-mm.
mentorship between us was also towards that area. But then I already had my student teachers in the K to 12 curriculum, which is more student centered, and um, it's somewhat different than the previous
I
setup.
see.
So my style was also a bit different. It
Okay.
was also um, somewhat learner centered as well.
Yeah, so that was brought by the curricular changes as well, no? Because
Yes.
yeah, from the old curriculum, then we have the K to 12. So just for the purposes of giving also an idea to our upcoming pre-service teachers who will undergo a mentorship later on. As a mentor, Ma'am Jess, what are the expectations that you have, let's say, to a mentee? Do you have like
Okay.
do you have like an expectation on from the perspective of a mentor at least do you have an expectation on like at least you should have the skills or at least you already know what a lesson plan is, at least you already know how to engage your students? What are the expectations of a mentor?
Yeah, the basic skills needed for a student teacher should be there already. But then in our case, because like in Silliman University Junior High School, we were trained, or we are still, yeah, continually being trained by PAC,
Mm-mm.
and still in line or aligned with the K to 12 curriculum, but we're using a certain format that's somewhat different from the depth ed
Yeah.
format, for instance, for our learning plan.
Mm-mm.
So in that case, I am open that the student teacher is not very much knowledgeable of everything in the format. I mean, what's in there. So I'm
Mm-mm.
very open to share that. What I'm expecting from the student teacher is the openness to learn
Yeah,
and the responsibility to take on whatever that will be asked of him or her in the mentorship program.
I see. Usually, Ma'am Jess, in your experience as a mentor, at least this will also serve as a heads up, no, to our upcoming mentees, no, or in the future mentees. What are the usual mistakes that at least they should take heed as early as now?
Mm, usual, usual. Because I only had like how many student teachers in the past? It's not always every year because
Yeah,
science majors are
rare.
few, rare, yeah, one of a kind, and they're not
Mm-mm.
always there every year. But
Yeah.
anyway, based on what I can remember, well, probably on the one is something with the classroom management,
Mm-mm.
and then also with the content, since like is it because last time they were not really physics majors, but they were asked to teach
Teach.
physics.
I see.
So of course there must be a need to really help them with the content, although not
Mm-mm.
really major, but um yeah, on that area. I'm not sure right now, are they like specific physics chem or what?
No, actually, for the new curriculum, we have the general science
All
curriculum
right, so
already.
that
So,
means
yeah,
they have to be like you, an expert of all of the sciences.
apparently,
Right.
definitely. Oo.
uh,
So, yeah, was that a big deal, Ma'am Jess, or was that a major adjustment? Of course, having like a mentee that was like really majoring on say physics, and then here you have a mentee that specializes on the general science. Um, what was the adjustment on that in terms of the content, uh, say follow up or feedback?
because based on my experience, the content, something that you really have to master, and mastering content, like tiny details or tiny um, information like
Mm-mm.
that, and even whatever other coverage that
Mm-mm.
there will be, you can like master that through time, and so you
Yeah.
cannot expect that for a student teacher to really have that mastery right there and then.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it is a bit of a challenge if the student teacher in the first place is not a physics major, because that's what you're going to teach, and it's so difficult to teach if you do not know the concept. So
Yeah.
yes, it is one of the challenges.
I see. So moving forward, Ma'am Jess, from being a mentee, then you have already an experience of being a mentor. Since you're already a mentor right now, what kind of do you still receive some sort of mentorship also from your colleagues, say from your former professors, or even the experience itself being a teacher? What are the sources of mentorship that you still find very valuable and contributory to your teaching?
Yeah, of course there is still that mentorship going on even if you become a mentor. In fact, I believe it's needed for you to continually grow, that
Yeah.
you have people whom you can mentee and help learn, but there are also people who will also help you get better and become a better version of yourself. And so of course, our even my colleagues, I consider them as my mentors at some point, because in the science department, for instance, here in the junior high school, because we teach each other along the way, we help each other along the way.
Yeah.
And of course, our principal, and even our dean, who is continually encouraging us, even you, to do research.
Yeah.
And I believe that is a mentorship as well. She is being a mentor in that field.
Yeah.
And of course, we would always want to have a role model for a certain area that we want to grow in.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, in a more general sense, Ma'am Jess, what do you think are the advantages or the benefits of culturing, or of no, not culturing, but of say fostering a culture of mentorship?
What benefits?
Yeah.
Well, mm, Um, first is that we make sure that learning continues,
Mm-mm.
and is not only for the mentee but also for the mentor, because the mentor will also have to upgrade himself or
Yeah.
herself in the process. And then um, learning, and then of course, you know um, building each other along the way.
Yes, very important.
And mm, what else can there be? mm, yeah, so basically we learn from each other.
Yeah, in terms of personal relationship, Ma'am Jess, do you think this culture of mentorship also preserves and even improves personal relationships among colleagues?
Yes, definitely. If there is mentorship, because if somebody is like a new teacher, for instance, a new teacher, a student teacher, who looks at you, who is somebody like this, who've been here for so many years, would
Yeah.
be somewhat intimidated at first, especially if you have an aura that is somewhat intimidating. And
Yeah.
I was already told by somebody that someone was intimidated by me. And
Mm,
uh,
okay.
even if I'm surprised, I take it as a challenge,
Nice.
to try to reach out. There is that, mm, what they call this, you're leveling your expectations with each
Yeah.
other, so that along the way there will be a smooth relationship. And also, we don't have a choice, because in the workplace we need help from one another. And if there is so much intimidation, or if there is so much negative connotation, or even
Mm-mm.
um, not so good rapport, or there's not even a rapport in the first place, or good relationship, then it will be difficult to deal with each other, especially if there are challenges along the way, like the ODL setup right now. We have so many
Yeah,
challenges, and so it will be very
definitely.
difficult if you don't have a good relationship, whether it's a mentee mentor relationship, or just
A collegial,
collegial,
yeah,
yeah, relationship.
I do agree. So I think the takeaway that I have there is very important that personally you have the openness to be mentored, and at the same time you also like share that sort of culture of mentorship in your say department or workplace or wherever you will be in the future. So I think we have limited time, Jess. So to wrap this
Mhm.
up, and of course to in closing, what is your message to our probably advice also or some inspiring message to our upcoming pre-service teachers, especially the science majors? Probably you can share to them what will be the challenges probably that they will experience and how can they say overcome these.
Right. So, well, you're almost there, as I've said. And again, I congratulate you because um, it's not easy. Yeah, I know that, especially science majors, you are given all of the disciplines. And when you go into student teaching, you will be asked to teach one discipline only that I don't know if you have mastered already with your pre-service education. But whatever that will come along the way, remember that um, everything will be for your own good and for your preparation in the future. And just be open. And I forgot to say this a while back, that you have to be humble as well, humble and responsible at the same time. And you cooperate and be open with your mentor. If you have any concerns, you have suggestions, or um, challenges also that you want to open up or share with your mentor, go ahead, because an open relationship with your mentor, open communication will be a very good help. And um, I won't assure you that there wouldn't be any challenges along the way, because surely there would be challenges. And
Yeah.
for sure, you will be able to tackle each of the challenges with your mentor, with your mentors in the College of Education as well, and
Mm-mm.
even people who surround you every day to cheer you up and keep you motivated going on. And just hold on, because very close, you will
Yeah.
be a teacher very soon, professional teacher. So
Yes.
congratulations. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Jess. No, very inspiring indeed. And I like the advice that it's very realistic that definitely there will be challenges. You will really struggle. But I like also the assurance that for so long that you just persevere, you are very open, especially to criticisms. And the one that Ma'am Jessa really put premium on, humility. No? I think you really have that in your heart sincerely because you cannot really, openly accept feedbacks unless you're humble enough to accept them and do something about it. So I think it has been a wonderful sharing, and for the benefit also of others who are watching and for the interest of time, we have already reached the closing of this Chikahan about mentorship. So on behalf of Project Simify and of course the College of Education, Ma'am Jessa, we would like to thank you for saying yes to our invitation, and we look forward to more yeses in our future invitations. And we look forward also that we will be hearing stories of mentorship also from our pre-service teachers who will later on become probably because I think right now in the third year we have 9 science majors, so I think they will be evenly distributed. And that's a good thing in Silliman University because we have the on-campus and the off-campus experience. So they got to
Yes.
experience both sort of environment. So let me close this by a quote from Isaac Newton. And he said that if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of the giants. Thank you, everybody. God bless and stay alive.
Stay